Well, happy Tuesday morning, everybody. Pastor Steve here. So glad you've joined me. Today we are in 1 Corinthians chapter 10. I hope you've already read the chapter and written in your journal what God has spoke to you. When I read this chapter, I thought, man, there is a lot I could talk about. There's a lot of wonderful information and teaching in this chapter. And yesterday's devotion was a little longer, and I didn't want to do that 2 days in a row. So I'm going to focus on a couple of verses today that spoke to me. One is verse 20, where Paul says, "But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, pagans who sacrifice meat and so on to idols, they sacrifice to demons and not to God. And I do not want you to become sharers in demons." When you read the chapter, what he's saying is these pagans, these Gentiles, when they practice their pagan religions and make these sacrifices to their idols and so on, they think those idols represent real gods. But they don't, because those gods aren't real and those idols aren't anything. But he said in reality, behind all of that is demonic activity. Demonic activity designed to deceive and destroy people, to lead them astray, condemn people. And when I read it, I thought, wow, without knowing it, they're actually sacrificing to demons, to demonic activity. So much of the phenomenon in our world today that people get all excited about, that distracts them from the gospel of Jesus, distracts them from the person of Jesus Christ, is actually demonic activity. Dr. Hugh Ross, who was here earlier this year, his ministry and website, Reasons to Believe. I think the website is reasons.org if you want to check it out. I heard him in a conversation about UFOs say that much of those kind of phenomenon are nothing more than demonic activity. Just as angels can move from the time-space continuum dimension that they are part of, so can demons. And that demonic activity, all this stuff is designed to draw people away from Jesus, to give people a reason, an excuse. And I think he's right. And so a lot of stuff that's happening in our world that keeps people from believing in Jesus Christ, there's demonic activity behind it, just as there was in the ancient world. Now, the second verse that caught my attention is verse 27. He said, if one of the unbelievers, so someone who's not a disciple, not a Christian, invites you and you want to go, well, eat anything that is set before you without asking questions for conscience sake. So you're a Christian in the city of Corinth, and somebody who's not a believer asks you, hey, you want to have dinner at my house tonight? You want to come over Friday night and we'll have some beef. Quite possibly that beef was meat that was sacrificed to their gods, and they got to keep part of it, or they bought part of it at the market or the restaurant, whatever. He said, go. Eat with them. And he goes on to say, don't worry about what the food is or where it came from, because all food is clean. I mean, if you're a believer. And don't ask where it came from. Now, if they tell you it was from the temple, had been sacrificed to an idol, well, in that case, for their conscience sake, he goes on to say, don't eat it. Because if you do, they will say, well, he's a Christian and he knows this has been sacrificed to an idol and he's eating it, so Jesus is just another god in the pantheon of gods. So the reason he gives there for not eating it, if you know what it is, if they tell you what it is for evangelism. Now, with those who are believers, don't eat it if they know you're eating it, because it might offend weak believers. You know, their faith isn't strong. You don't want to make them even weaker. Here it's different. It's with lost people, and you don't want to hinder your evangelism with them. And so Paul, remember we said yesterday, the driving passion of his life was the gospel. So Paul was willing to give up meat for, at this dinner, if that was what was necessary to be an effective witness, to be an evangelist. It wasn't because there was anything wrong with it. And so through this whole letter, what Paul's trying to do is to get people to quit focusing on their wants and their preferences and their rights, and say the thing that matters is, are you winning people to Jesus? Are you being an effective evangelist? And are you strengthening the faith of the weak? Get your eyes off yourself and what you want. We are in this world to preach the gospel, to be instruments God uses to grow the kingdom of heaven. We're not here first and foremost primarily just to be happy and please ourselves. Happiness is wonderful. But your goal as a disciple is the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's the word for today. I'll see you tomorrow as we look at chapter 11.